Hi, this is Mark. I'm coming to you with a hastily slapped together demo of working on Carolina in the Pines project in Adobe Audition. So, okay, we're here on the project file or the project page, excuse me, and here's the click to download the zip file. Of course, it takes you to another window, and so then you have to say, okay, I want to download it here. It's not redundant or repetitive. Anyway, so you see I've already downloaded the zip file here, so we can go ahead and cancel out of that. And we'll go into here. So now I've got this file, and I'm going to use 7-zip. On most Windows machines, we'll just have like open with, and see I've got 7-zip there too, but normally we'll give an archive, Adobe, or excuse me, a Windows archive. But I'm just going to extract the files here. Boop. And that gives me this with the audio files inside it now. Okay, so I'm going to go into Audition, and I'm going to bring in those files. So I'm going to do right click and import. I'll select all of those files in my downloads folder, hit open, and zap, they've all appeared right there. So what I want to do before I go any further is I'm going to do a new multi-track session, since this is going to be a multi-track session. And I am going to call this project or whoops, Dobson. There we go. All right, and I'm going to save that to the desktop just because I'm going to be messing with it later. And see if we take a look on the desktop now, you see that it's created a folder already with the project for Dobson session inside of it. And now everything else that we do after that is going to be created inside that folder. So if we go back to Audition now, and I'm going to go ahead and grab all of these tracks and pull them onto the timeline. So we've got mandolin, violin, acoustic guitar, bass, Bloomeline, and chamber. And you see here the Bloomeline file is actually two vastly different channels in a stereo file. And so what would be best for us at this point is to go ahead and take this into the waveform editor. Okay, so you double click to bring it into there, and you see they're just way different from each other. So to have more control over the levels of this, we're going to split these two files into mono files. So I'm going to go over here and extract channels to mono files, and that's just going to make it easier for us later when we have to mix everything. So now it's extracted it to a left and a right channel. If we go back to our multi-track project, we can then go ahead and delete this track. I'm just going to select it and delete. And of course, things always go wrong, but Control Z is your friend. Let me click out of that, and then I'll do this and delete. Okay, so I'm going to grab the left channel, drop it down here. We're going to rearrange things in a minute anyway. So the next thing I want to do is go to multi-track, track, and add mono audio track. That's going to be for the other mono file that we created. So we'll grab that right channel here. And now you're looking at all these, and you see this one is still a stereo file. But this is a stereo mic that is in a chamber. And if we listen to it just by itself, we can see that it is just the I guess splashback of the live performance. And so we don't need to split that up into individual mono files. So, okay. Okay, and so now I'm going to go up to each one of these, and you see this one's called mandolin. So I'm going to rename this mandolin. This one is violin, so I'll rename it violin. This one is called acoustic guitar. This is the bass. Let's listen to this track soloed. Turn the solo off of that one so we can hear what this is. Okay, so that sounds like that's mostly violin and maybe some backing vocals. So I'll just call this violin 2 and then plus. And then we know that this one is probably the vocal track with a little bit of extra on it. So let's hear what this is. Okay, so we've got that split up, and I'm going to call this one Vox plus. So vocals plus, whoops, not equals, plus. There we go. Okay, and this one is chamber, so we'll just call this chamber. All right, so we've got all that. Now I'm going to go over to the mixer view here just because I have everything kind of side by side and I see where I want things to go. So like I've talked about before, you kind of try to do a logical left to right whenever you set out your track. So if the vocalist is up front, then that is your kind of front layer, and that's going to be channel 1. And then you go to the next line, which is going to be kind of the guitars and the backing instruments. So the next line is going to be, we're going to say mandolin and violin because those are pretty up front. And then I'll go ahead and put violin 2 plus here. And we have acoustic guitar, bass, and chamber. So that works out pretty good for me because bass is going to be kind of the backing instrument, and then everything else just kind of falls in place. So one thing that I want to do to kind of make different things kind of sparkle, I can always go into my effects settings here to add effects or bump up some sounds so that they're a little bit more present. Like here on the bass, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add an effect, and I'm going to go into amplitude and compression and do tube modeled compressor. And that's just because a tube modeled compressor has a little bit of a warmer sound to it. So I'm going to go in here and do blissful bass just because, yeah, sure, the bass is blissful, man. So we're going to add that to it and just take a listen to the bass track by itself. Now that sounds all right, but I'm going to go in here into the EQ, click on the pencil to open the editor, and here I'm going to do a generic low pass. So that is going to be, that's going to cut off some of the high end so the bass doesn't intrude much in the high end there. And that just makes it a little bit more of a background sort of thing. So we'll just do that there for now. All right. So let's take a listen to vocals here. All right, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do a single band compressor on the voice. And let's see, we've got a vocal booster.
Guesswork in the clockwork of the world's heart and mind. Every night I only feel right with Carolina in the pie.
All right, that sounds all right. Now I'm going to go back to the EQ on this one. And I'm going to find, there we go, vocal enhancer. So you see that rolls off a lot of the low end and then kind of shinies up the highs there. And I'm just going to stick with presets this time around because I'm just doing a quick and dirty recording here. Okay, so let's move over to
On the windows
the
and the wood stove,
mandolin.
smokes and blows. As the fire grows, we can warm ourselves, watching
Okay.
rainbows in the cold. And we'll talk of trails.
So there's a little bit of vocal bleeding on that, and that's fine. But we're going to go ahead and treat the mandolin like an acoustic guitar for this time. So it really doesn't do a whole lot to it, but I'm going to go ahead, and you can only do this if you really feel comfortable about it. I'm going to take this down on the low end, just the low end, because the mandolin is a predominantly high-pitched instrument, so it doesn't really have any low-end frequencies to it. So, okay, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do the same for the violin. So I'm going to go in there once again, do acoustic guitar, and I'm going to take that low off. All right, let's go ahead and start the playback over. Let's go ahead and let's do a little bit of compression on that too. Just a single band. And let's see, Guitar Charmer. It sounds kind of neat, so I'll try that. So you can go on through all the different channels and apply an EQ. Like I said, violin and mandolin are kind of on the higher end, so you can roll off a bit of the low end and base it off of an acoustic guitar profile. Then with acoustic guitar, we could just go in here and just use that acoustic guitar setting. And like I said, it doesn't interfere with a whole lot, but it gives us a little bit of ducking there. Violin 2, I'll just go in there and do that acoustic guitar setting again and take that way down.
Of the world's heart and mind. There are nights I only feel right with Carolina in the pie.
And just to create a bit of a stereo image here, I'm going to send the violin, this particular violin, I'm going to say send way the heck off to the right. This one I'm going to send about halfway to the right. I'm going to send the mandolin off to the left. And let's send the acoustic guitar far to the left too. Or actually, let's do that at about 50 left. Just for grins and giggles.
As the frost shows on the windows and the wood stove smokes and blows,
on a bit.
Watching rainbows in and we'll talk of the trail she walked up far above the timberlines. From that night on, I knew I'd write songs with Carolina in the pine.
And like I said, I'm doing just a really quick mix here to demonstrate this process. And it may just sound like utter garbage. I really can't tell because I'm using a Bluetooth headset right now. And it's only got one speaker on it, and that speaker's pretty poor, honestly. But okay, so once you kind of listen to your mix a few times and you make sure that you've got where you can distinctly tell where the instruments are coming from and you can hear all the vocals clearly and things like that, then it's time to do a mix down. So the mix down is going to be here. You go File, and then you go down to Export. Excuse me, I have to put my glasses back on. Export, and then we're going to do multi-track mix down. And we'll do entire session because I don't have any outlying clips. And so I'm going to change the destination back to my desktop folder, the Dobson Audio, or no, it was Project 4 Dobson. So I'm going to send it to that folder and save. And let's see, we're going to do 48 stereo 32 bits. It's a WAV file, so that's good. Entire session, and so we go okay. All right, and now if we go to that folder on the desktop, we've got the Project 4 session, Project 4 Mixdown, the peak file, and the Project 4 Mixdown WAV file. And I'm going to go ahead, and now that we're in here, I'm going to go save. And it says the session contains 2 files with unsaved changes. Would you like to save changes? Yeah, sure, yes to all. And I want to, well, let's see what happens here. Okay. New file. And I just want to see what it does when we go close. Okay. So in that, now we have our imported files, which are all the files that we brought in. Then we've got our right channel, our left channel file, so we know we're all good with that. Then just to double check before submitting everything, we're going to open this up in VLC Media Player. And we hear that it's playing, so that's a good sign. And I'd advise that you listen all the way through it just to make sure that everything is in there and there's no clipping or anything like that. Like I said, I apologize if that sounds a little bit messy as an audio file. I just kind of quickly banged that out. So anyway, hopefully this is helpful. And yeah, so have fun working on the project. Alrighty, have a good one.